So I'm sure you guys might have heard about the fact now that the Boston Celtics desperately lack at the center position. I know that a lot of people have actually heard these rumors already, but they're starting to get a lot more traction recently. And what's pretty much happening is there's actually a lot of reports saying that the Boston Celtics will reportedly target a big name center when the trade deadline appears close to happening. A lot of people actually came out and saying this, including a couple of journalists, including Brian Winehurst. I think that's how you say his name, but he's pretty much said the Celtics are expected to try and trade for either Steven Adams or Clint Capella if their teams were making them available to trade for. I really doubt that Clint Capella is going to be going to be traded by the Houston Rockets. I mean, it just doesn't really make any sense, in my opinion, for Houston to really look at a trade for him. And yeah, I just can't really see that potentially happening. I mean, Houston, I think, see themselves as contenders, and with how Russell Westbrook and James Harden have been playing with each other recently, like the chemistry seems to be there. Especially, I just really don't think that that any of this stuff is really going to happen, except maybe the Steven Adams trade, which I think is extremely likely and could potentially happen. There was actually a lot of rumors coming out before the season even started that Steven Adams was actually on the trade block and was actually going to be traded to a team eventually. The Boston Celtics were rumored then and there, but I believe they were eventually cut off, and the team that I heard mostly was actually the Sacramento Kings following the departure of Willie Cauley-Stein. That actually didn't eventually obviously happen, despite a lot of people believing that it was a massive chance to. It didn't actually happen, and now it looks like that Steven Adams would remain and play with the OKC Thunder, and OKC would attempt to try and tank, even though they've got some veterans on the list or whatever. Obviously, this stuff hasn't, really happened. Like, they actually, I think, are trying to tank, but they're actually playing a little bit decent at the time of making this video. I think they're still in the bottom three in the West or something, but I think they just won their recent game, and I mean, Chris Paul hasn't been playing good at all, and it's believed that if he wants to get traded, he's actually going to have to start playing like they know he can. So I presume his production will go up, and then the team will start to get better. Who really knows what's going to happen here, but I believe that the OKC Thunder will definitely try to move Steven Adams, Gallinari, Chris Paul, etc. when the deadline actually does come. I believe they'll try and get Chris Paul and Gallinari out first, and then Steven Adams will eventually follow. To be honest, I don't think the Celtics are really going to have to trade that much for Steven Adams. I don't think, really OKC are going to want that much for him. I think they just want to tank and get good picks at the time being. So I don't think they're going to be really asking for exactly that much. Although, if OKC did have some interest in Jaylen Brown, I believe they might even inquire about trading for him. I really doubt it, though. A trade that I could potentially see would be happening would be something like maybe Enes Kanter, maybe a young player like Romeo Langford, and a future first or this year's first for Steven Adams and maybe another player here and there. That's what I could potentially see happening. I also would think that the Celtics might give Gallinari a look, because obviously Gallinari is a very good floor spacer and all that type of stuff. And I think that you could also argue, that Boston also do lack at the power forward position, and playing Jason Tatum there as a small ball situation. Again, that could potentially happen as well. The only player at OKC that I don't think that Boston would really, try and talk about trade negotiations would be potentially, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because obviously he's pretty much untouchable at this point. And obviously Chris Paul. I really don't think the OKC would try and get Chris Paul. I really don't think that would necessarily happen. I think it could just be Steven Adams that they try and go for, but again, there could be a planned player that they also do have planned for, and who really knows, maybe, a lot of people question the Jaylen Brown contract extension when it did happen. I think that maybe they could have been talking to OKC about a potential trade. I'm pretty sure OKC were actually one of the rumored teams when all the Jaylen Brown conversations were coming out. So who knows, maybe they would like to include Jaylen Brown in a package to potentially try and get Steven Adams and Gallinari. Who really knows what's going to happen, but if they don't include Jaylen Brown, I still think they're going to have to give up a young player who's obviously not getting that many minutes. Presumably, it'd probably be like Romeo Langford or Carson Edwards. I would think that the Celtics would potentially trade. I also believe they'll have to pretty much give up this year's first, because if they keep going the way that they're going, this year's first will be like pick 24 or something, so it really won't be that much anyway. And maybe just another player here and there. Who really knows what they are going to do? I believe this trade is genuinely going to happen. I think that this could happen, and it is a massive possibility, in my opinion. I know that, there are a lot of people out there that sometimes question these trade sources and trades rumors, and sometimes people think that journalists and reporters make up some stuff here and there just to, sell a belief that they want people to believe in, but you can't really seriously tell me that this doesn't sound possible. I mean, this whole Steven Adams thing with what's been happening with OKC and them trying to tank and all of that stuff and them pretty much trading away all their players. I don't think they're really going to try and compete for the playoffs. I don't really think that's their goal nor intention. So I think that trading away Steven Adams is definitely extremely possible, and it's not like we haven't heard news about this before. I mean, there was a lot of Sacramento Kings news at the time that was potentially going to happen, and we obviously know that didn't end up getting done, and now we know what the position Sacramento are in. So imagine if they actually gave up this year's first round pick for Steven Adams. Obviously, they're a bottom 3 team at the moment. I think they're actually last. Imagine if they remain that and they actually gave up that first for Steven Adams. OKC would have a top 3 pick. So, yeah, obviously, if you're a Sacramento fan, you're pretty much very happy that this trade obviously didn't go through, because you'd presume that Steven Adams would not anywhere near be where, anywhere near be worth what a top 3 pick would be. But, yeah, I don't really know. I think it's pretty interesting on all of this stuff that is happening, obviously. And again, I do genuinely believe the Boston Celtics would be a perfect team for Steven Adams. Obviously, just based on the fact that if they get Gallinari as well, they'll still have quite a bit of shooting. Pretty much it would be a stacked team and could potentially be the favorite. I mean, the only position that they really lack is at the center spot, and then you could say at the power forward spot too. Even though they're pretty much playing obviously Jason Tatum there as a smaller ball type of thing, I think potentially it would work. Obviously, the cap situation would also work, as well, as I believe they will be going over if they do acquire Steven Adams, but a lot of teams are over by a big amount, so I don't really know how much it will really bother the Celtics. Also, just based on the fact that if they want to put Jaylen Brown in a package to potentially get Steven Adams, who knows, that could potentially happen as well. And maybe even Dennis Schroeder. I didn't really talk about him. Dennis Schroeder might even be on the Celtics' eyes, as well, as they don't really have a backup point guard. I mean, Carson Edwards is their backup point guard, and he is a rookie, and they want to contend for the playoffs, and I don't really think he's going to get that many minutes when it comes to the playoffs, potentially. So I don't really know. I guess we'll still have to wait and see on how that goes. But I think Dennis Schroeder will be on the Celtics watch list. Steven Adams as well. And pretty much Gallinari, I think, as well. But anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for all the latest NBA content and NBA news. Don't forget to comment in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts and opinions on this? Do you guys agree with me? Do you guys disagree with me? I definitely would really like to know your thoughts and opinions down below. Or do you guys just think the Steven Adams deal won't get done, or will it get done? As I said, would highly like to know in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel and my IRL/long channels. Links for them are in the description down below. So make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe, and a comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.